I'm just finishing reassembling the second of the HP9100B calculators. I haven't shown much of the reassembly. In fact, I haven't really shown any of the reassembly. It's exactly the same as the first one that I did. Went through it in the same way, cleaned up all the dry joints, cleaned up all the contacts, made sure all the screws were properly fitted, and put it all back as it was. It's just now a lot cleaner, and hopefully all the connections are a lot better. Just now working my way through the keyboard. I've stripped that down, given the contacts are cleaned all the keycaps. I just now need to get that reassembled. Just move the camera down a bit. So the eagle-eyed viewer will notice that the plate here that was missing on the other machine, as was the felt pad and plastic backing. So I've taken some measurements and I can now make replacements of these for the other machine. So I'll now get the keyboard fitted. What I did before I stripped this unit down was start the self-test, and there's a very interesting feature of core memory machines, which is, in theory at least, when you reassemble them, the core memory should still retain the contents it had when you switched it off last time. So in theory we should still be halfway through the self-test if this machine will come back to life. I obviously haven't tried turning this back on since I've stripped it all down. I have had it completely apart. I've had all the bottom assembly apart, cleaned it up, done quite a lot of work on it just to hopefully make it a bit more stable, and fingers crossed it will come back to life. My main concern with these is always the tube. This one, in fact both of the tubes rattle slightly, but there are some kind of loose spaces in there. There's nothing I can see that looks particularly bad. It's usually the large glass supports inside that snap off, and that kind of is normally what kills them. I have had to rebond the base on both tubes. They were very loose, and if you leave them like that, with vibration it can snap off the wires that connect to the tube itself, and then again that will usually spell the end of that particular tube. So anyway, I'll get this one reassembled, we'll power it up, and hopefully it will come back to life. So that's the machine fully reassembled. I have not tried to power this back up yet. I have adjusted the position of the reader so it lines up with a slot on the bezel. The chassis on this is very slightly distorted. It was on the other one, and hopefully it will settle down once it's been sat on a flat surface for a while. But it looks extremely good. It looks much better than it did. I won't say it looks new, but it certainly looks fairly well on the way to being in fairly good condition. What we'll do now is power it up. As I said, I switched it off when it was halfway through the self-test, so assuming it comes back to life. As I said, an interesting feature of core memory systems is we should be back in the same position. In fact, if you left this switched off for 50 years and came back, it should resume from where it left off. It's a very interesting feature of core memory. Okay, we'll get it powered up. Power switch on, so fingers crossed. Also, the insert that's now in the register indicator is an original insert. So the other machine had an original insert, but I've swapped that to this machine. So this machine has all the proper original parts in it. So this is a very original machine now, and in hopefully good condition. Let's just hope it comes to life. Okay, well, the register indicator has lit up. The error light is not on, and the displays come back up, so that's quite good. And also we'll notice it is in fact in the test program. Notice there's distortion on the display. I haven't made any attempt to correct that. This will be going back to the owner, and he lives in the US, so he will be running this at 60 Hertz, so there's no point me trying to correct this because it will be different. But if he wants to, he can put a small magnet in to correct the distortion. But other than that, it's looking quite good. We'll just now see if it will actually run the program. So if I press continue, the test program should continue from where it left off. Apologies if there's any flicker on the camera. There's none evident in real life, again, as ever, that's just an artifact of my camera. But let's see if this machine will actually run. And it does. So, okay, that's looking good. It would appear that this machine is back up and running. What I'm going to do now is just leave this running for probably a full day. And it used to run for somewhere between half an hour and an hour at the most before it would lock up. Sometimes it would lock up after a few seconds. But it's looking good, it's doing what it's supposed to. Let's just hope it continues. There's nothing loose, so it's looking quite promising. This machine does draw a lot more power than the other machine, so what I might do is put this on the PM100 and have a look at the power factor and see how it compares to the other machine. But I'll leave it running first, make sure there are no issues, and hopefully in the next video in this series we can move on to the second of the two printers. I won't be going over that in too much detail. It is an identical printer to the previous one I looked at recently, but I will go into some detail as to how to rebuild the print head on it. I've had some cables made up to restore the print head, but obviously I need to give some information as to how you could go about using those.